everyone! Before we get started with today's experiment, here's an important note.
It's important that you have a grown-up nearby just in case you might need help or working with some of the materials in our kit.
So pause this video, take a moment, and go find an adult so you can get started with our experiments and read-alouds.
Hello Mason Moose, my name is Mrs. Smith. I am a Title I assistant here at Mason, and I'll be your STEM instructor today. Today's activity, Marble Maze, pairs with our book, 21 Elephants. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please make sure you click on the QR code that's included in this week's packet, or take a look at the link that will be included in our email. In today's activity, we will be making a marble maze. What does that have to do with science, you may ask? Physics, of course. What's physics? Physics is the area of science that studies matter and energy. We can think about physics to see how a marble moves on a plate, or even how gravity affects the motion of our planet. This is an example of Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion. He's the guy that sat underneath a tree and had an apple bonk him on his head. And he said, aha, gravity. Well, actually, there's no real evidence that he actually got hit on the head with the apple. However, he did notice that when apples fall from a tree, they don't float up, they come down. Gravity pulls objects on the earth toward the ground or towards the center of the earth. Without it, we'd be all floating around like balloons. Using your newfound knowledge of gravity and physics, let's make a marble maze. Ready to dive in? Let's make sure we have all of our materials for our marble maze. Included in your packet are 6 straws, as well as a small strip of paper, and a marble, and a sheet of paper. From home, you'll need to have a paper plate, any size paper plate will do, as well as a pair of scissors and tape. If you really want to jazz up your marble maze, please make sure you also have some markers or crayons. All right, Mason Moose, let's go ahead and make our marble maze. So, our first step, we're going to start with our paper. In your packet, it's included some white paper. However, I chose to use color paper. That way you can easily see it. So we have our one strip that is included in our paper. We're going to kind of use that to help us measure the rest of our strips for our marble maze. I'm going to take, it's about 3 to 4 inches, and so I'm going to take some time and make as many strips as I want. The goal is to make some complications for your marble as it tries to go through the maze. We don't want to make it too easy and only have 1 or 2 tunnels that it has to go through. And we don't want to make it too hard where there's not enough space for it to roll around on our paper plate. So right now I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go ahead and just work with 6 pieces of paper. So I now have my strips of paper. So now I'm going to start assembling my maze. So I'm going to take my piece of paper and kind of make a loop out of it. And then I'm going to place it on my plate and then add a piece of tape at my ends. So it kind of it looks like a little hill or a tunnel. That's what our first one looks like. As you're assembling your maze, again, think out of the box and use your imagination. You're going to try to see how complicated you can make your maze. For time purposes, I'll just go ahead and keep mine pretty simple with just 3 tunnels. So currently this is my maze. And if you notice, we want to make sure all of our ends are sitting down like nice and evenly. So I have one side that I'm going to add a little bit more tape so it's not too wide. I think we're ready to begin. So I'm going to grab my marble and then I'm going to place it on my plate. Hold your plate because then if it's kind of on the ground, then it doesn't have the ability to move about. But when I lift it up, I can move it around, and my goal is to try to get it to go through some of the tunnels. Right now it's a little dizzy and it's kind of going around and around in our circles, but I want to kind of get it to go inside one of our tunnels. Mrs. Smith might have to reassemble our marble maze. Please take a minute and go ahead and take some time and assemble your marble maze. Again, you can add as many strips of paper as you would like, and then you can make it as complicated as you want it to be. So I went ahead and added a few more strips of paper so my marble actually has some tunnels to go through. So I'm going to kind of maneuver my plate around and around to see if it can get through the maze. Of course, each strip of paper and each tunnel is an obstacle for your maze to try to get through. So it's also an own challenge as we work through and see how gravity works to try to see how our marble can manage going through our complicated maze. So now that we've already done our first version of our marble maze, now we can use our second set of materials, our straws, to make an even more complicated maze for our marble. So in your packet, you have 6 straws. These straws are long enough for you to cut in any length that you choose. The longer you keep them or the shorter you keep them and have more walls and spaces for your marble to work through will make your maze even harder. Go ahead and take a minute and cut your straws into different sizes to assemble your own maze with straws. And if you keep your bendy ends, if you notice, they can stretch out, so then it also makes it a little bit even more like movable, which is kind of cool. Uh-oh. Please make sure you protect your eyes and ears as you cut your straws. And as you're cutting, if you notice while you're assembling your maze that maybe you have too many walls, then go ahead and take them off. It's just tape. So right now I have about 8 or 7 straws. I'm going to cut a few more because I want my maze to have to work to get through their maze. Straws are pretty easy to cut through, so you don't have to put too much pressure down on your scissors, but we also always want to be extra careful when we're cutting materials. So again, this is your own imagination and your own creativity. Go ahead and take a minute and assemble, after you've cut your straws, go ahead and assemble your straws onto your plate with pieces of tape and make your maze. Go ahead and take a minute to do that, and then we'll check back later. Welcome back. So as you can see, Mrs. Smith had time to go ahead and assemble her marble maze. With your straws, again, you could have cut as many pieces as you would have liked and assembled them on your plate however you chose. So this is my marble maze, and so I am going to try to see how well my marble gets through my maze. Maybe I made it a little bit too hard. If you really want to challenge yourself, maybe have someone else at your home make a marble maze, and you guys can time each other to see how quickly your marbles can get through your maze. I hope you had fun with this activity, and remember, science is great and fun, and it's a great chance to use your imagination. Bye, Mason Moose.